Hey, welcome to my proving grounds. Today's topic, things to know about Process Explorer. You gotta understand, I'm basically just picking and choosing the stuff that's going through sysinternals, and I just want to learn more about them. And if it's something useful, I will put it to use. So, in short, I'm going to share my notes with you. Uh, One of the first things, the main features. Uh, First thing you should know is that Process Explorer shows dynamic information. That includes process, threads, modules, handles, TCP connections, environmental variables. It also shows kernel objects, and normally you can see or manipulate those through the handles. There's also system information like stuff that's going on with your CPU, memory, input, output, network, and GPU. And it does have a lot of text information, including graphs. Now, we're just going to go open this up and you're going to see what I'm talking about. So we are going to go alphabetically Process Explorer. We'll go with the bare minimum here. Right click, administrative features. You don't need to be an administrator to run it. It's a standalone application, but you do have more access. Let's lower that lower pane for now. This is Process Explorer. It normally looks like this when you use it. Now, you're going to see a bunch of stuff here, but let me run through it. Uh, First of all, Process Explorer is a lot like Task Manager. Think of it as Task Manager on steroids. And one of the reasons I'm using this is to get more information than what I'm getting out of Task Manager. And one of the topics that I'm interested in is identifying malware or identifying things that may lead to a vulnerability or malware being on the system. I've already added a couple of columns, like the command line, which one of the things I like is it gives you the actual path that in the command line in order to be able to access or to bring up any of these services or processes. Another thing I brought up was Windows status. Like right here, you can tell this one's running. Uh, Protections, if there are any. Stack protection. Here they say they're disabled. I brought this up initially and I really wasn't sure why, but now that I have it, it's there. If you're wondering how I was able to bring these up, you go over here to your options and you look around. First thing, go to view and go to the select columns. As you can see, I have VirusTotal, command line, win Windows status, which is over here, stack protection and protections, they are there, verified signer. These things are present. Now, we can remove things if we wanted. I'm not doing that right now. Now, if you're running a process here and it doesn't have a company name or description, that is a red flag. It doesn't necessarily mean that that particular process has anything wrong or is doing anything that could be a problem. But the point is, it's not giving you enough information. Therefore, if it's your job to find out about these things, this is something you're going to zero in on and you're going to do a little bit more research. One of the things we have is integration with VirusTotal and how you can actually bring that here if you're actually going into this cold is go to your options, go to VirusTotal, and then select check VirusTotal, and it brings that column up. Otherwise, you don't have it initially. Once you actually select and bring VirusTotal into it, you have to accept the terms of service, and then it starts submitting hashes for anything that's new. And if any of these hashes come back, you see the 77, 78, or 79, it's different antivirus and databases and other services that are all being funneled into VirusTotal. to look in on that one thing that you're asking for. If a lot of these have something about it, even if a 1 pops up here, 0 is beautiful. That means there's nothing wrong. If you have 1, then that means there's at least one supplier of information here that knows something that no one else does, and you got to look into it. The higher that number, the more I dislike it. Now, moving forward, we already covered that yes, you can view the stuff in the command line. You can activate these things through the command line, and I showed you the paths. Now, if you choose to go over here, hold on. Let's say you want to select something like this text input, and you select properties. You get a lot of information here. Under threads, you get to see here's a thread ID, and that's the ID number, and it gives you the start address of what all these things are. Now, if you click here, TCP, if it was actually sending any information to any other location, to like let's say Microsoft or the Linux Foundation, or to someone's command and control server, which we know is not something that we want because it would indicate that maybe there's a bot instance going on here. You could also look at your GPU graph. You could also see the performance, get all that information. What else can we look into here? If you chose one of these items and you did a Command D, the lower pane would come up. And what we're doing here is you want to see how many DLLs are actually coming up. Here they are. Saw that it said hash submitted, and now these things are coming up. 0 out of 79, 0 out of 78. Beautiful. And it goes. You could do the same thing, pick something else, and I believe, see, it's submitting hashes for those, and there you go. Now, if you wanted to see what kind of handles it had going on, same thing. You pick your target, and then Control H, and then you see the handles. They just popped right up. Now, beautiful thing is you also have the tabs here. You can see the DLLs and the threads. All very useful. I'm pretty much just blowing through this, but my notes cover all this stuff, and I am pretty much putting this in this version, not only for you, but more for myself, so that way I don't forget this stuff, and so that way I can be reminded to look for more information on this specific application and find out how else I can use it. I hope this has been helpful to all of you, and hopefully it continues to stay helpful for me. Thank you, and good night.